Good afternoon. I'm Tara Gray, the principal of the International School, and I'm proud to welcome our graduating seniors, faculty, family, and friends to the International School commencement ceremony for the class of 2020. While this format looks different from what we expected, the content is the same. Please enjoy our digital program as Andy Rubish and the International School Wind Ensemble play Pomp and Circumstance for the processional. Thank you, Andy and Wind Ensemble. Please stand for the national anthem, performed by the International School Jazz Choir and directed by Joanne Wong, followed by Senior Class President Aaron Hung.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose rough stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets spread the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave, the brave.
Please take your seats, though you may already be seated. As president of the senior class, it is my pleasure to greet you all. Thank you, iJazz, Joanne, and Hanson Wing for coordinating your recordings of the national anthem. You know, they say if you imagine the audience naked, it makes you less nervous, but I guess I don't really have to worry about that. Hello and welcome to all the families, friends, and anyone else that may be watching. Most importantly, hello, class of 2020. My name's Erin Hong, and I'm sure you guys already know that. At least I hope you do, given there's only 65 of us. We are here today to celebrate one of the greatest accomplishments in life, graduating high school. We really did it, and I'm sure you're tired of hearing this, but we did it in the middle of a pandemic, despite having probably one of the most serious cases of senioritis. Please give yourselves a round of applause. The class of 2020 is an amazing group of young adults. We laughed together, we cried together, we've grown together, and whether or not you've been here since 6th grade or 10th, we still share the same pain of explaining what Focus Week is and how/why we don't have sports or electives. As I look back at my time at IS, I sure had no clue what my fellow classmates and I would go through during our time here. That it was possible as a 6th grader to stress over a project about a teacher's trip to South America. I'm sure I'm not the only one that was traumatized by that project. That zip ties were a pain in the butt to cut off your backpack zippers, and that potato is not only a noun, but can also be used as a verb and adjective. Don't ask me how or why, it just works that way. Entering high school was a discovery that procrastination is not only a long word, but quite the exquisite lifestyle. High school also exposed us to the fact that time is relative, as we watched our 6 a.m. alarms go off after pulling an all-nighter. We learned that it is important to raise our hands and ask questions without being afraid, or else your 9th grade chem teacher will point at you and say, "This is why," or tell you to start journaling. Crazy, right? And then came junior year, where we were hit with the serious condition of on-set senioritis, as Sharice liked to call it. But finally, we got to the final boss stage, senior project. Despite everything we went through, as Dora used to say, we did it, we did it, we did it, yay! We've reached the first finish line of many that we saw many friends and family cross before us, but now it's our turn. We have finished high school, and just like Charles Dickens had said, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. A serious thank you to the teachers and administrators who have guided us and watched us grow. And most importantly, family. Thank you for your unconditional love and support. Now, I'm about to use a cliche high school's a book analogy, but bear with me here. I like to think of us as characters of a book. We had one heck of a high school story, but now our book has come to an end. But this does not mean it's the end of our story. We've simply come to the end of this book in our life as we now say goodbye to each other and meet new people, characters, in a new place, a new setting. We have all finished our first book, and now it's time to start writing a next one. Now, the main character is defined as someone who has resilience, strength, and grit. They are arrogant, yet brave and kind. Obviously, all signs point to me. I'm just kidding. It's every single one of us. As someone who has been here since 6th grade and has had the chance to observe everyone, I can proudly say that each and every one of you exhibit these traits. You guys are the main character of your own story. It's now our time to take on the world and create our next adventure while pursuing our passions and dreams, because as far as they may seem, remember that they are just within our grasp. Strive towards success and greatness, however, not the money and fame type of success and greatness, but the type that leaves hope, happiness, and change in the places and people you have crossed paths with. Attack the world head on and don't be afraid to fail or make mistakes, as that is what makes us human, and strive to be better. It's cliche to end with a quote, I know, but as Dr. Seuss once said, you have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself in any direction you choose. Class of 2020, it was a pleasure getting to know each and every one of you, and I couldn't have asked for it to be any different. Thank you so much for everything, and I wish you good luck to all the different places you are going, whether it be the other side of the world or the other side of the 520. I look forward to the things you all will do, and I have hope for change our generation will bring. From the bottom of my heart, I love you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Erin. Today, we gather to celebrate the many impressive accomplishments of the class of 2020. We are graduating this group of amazing young people in unprecedented times. Their resilience and perseverance during this pandemic demonstrates evidence of their capabilities and is indicative of their bright futures. It seems fitting that we also extend a moment of recognition to honor the parents of our seniors. First, our families who are graduating their last student from International. In many ways, you too are graduating with the class of 2020. We deeply appreciate all you have given to our students and our school. We wish you warm farewell as parents at International School. And for the rest of our parents of the class of 2020, we appreciate everything you've given to our students and our school. We're looking forward to continuing our work with you as your younger students move forward toward graduation. I know your graduate appreciates you, and if we were able to be together today, this would be a great time to give you all a standing ovation. Additionally, I'd like to extend a special thank you to the staff and parents who work to ensure that even with our closure, our graduates are being recognized and honored. Though they're not able to gather together today, our incredible staff who supported them along the way join me in sending off these amazing students. A huge thank you to our talented and committed International School staff. It's an honor to celebrate a class that has had such success. Today, we recognize outstanding individual performances as well as an overall impressive class as a whole. They were successful in the tasks they undertook. It was so impressive to see how they overcame challenges to complete senior projects that ended up looking very different from what they had expected. That flexibility will serve them well throughout their lives. Even with the needed changes, their individuality and creativity came through in their projects. Beyond the academic success, this class consists of a community that has bonded and has been there for each other. Together, they have overcome significant challenges and grown stronger as a result. They are prepared for what life brings. Beyond academic achievements, who they are as young people really impresses me. Watching them interact, seeing how they support each other, that makes them exemplary young people. It was a joy to work with them as they communicated their interests and ideas for the finish of their senior year during this closure. Through their thoughtful responses in classes, their talented performances, their philanthropy, and the kindness and humor of their everyday interactions, my appreciation for them has grown. The more I get to know these amazing students, the more optimistic I am about our world. I believe they have what it takes to solve problems in so many ways. They are the leaders of tomorrow, and I, for one, am excited about our future being in their capable hands. As we start tonight's ceremony, I'd like to share a quote from Kofi Annan that very much pays tribute to our students. Once you are really challenged, you find something in yourself. Man doesn't know what he's capable of until he is asked. Senior class of 2020, our world is asking. Thank you for bringing your capable selves to rise to our world's challenges. I now have the honor to introduce our first faculty speaker, Janet Roberts.
Thank you, Tara. And thank you, class of 2020, for asking me to join you in celebrating your graduation. It's truly an honor to be asked to speak. Seniors, your dream year has been totally disrupted by the COVID-19 virus quarantine. Your plans for senior assassin, prom, senior skip day, and just fooling around with your friends, and of course, attending inspiring physics and environmental science classes were dashed. Instead, you've been stuck at home for months. This virus has been truly terrible, impacting health and financial well-being. But terrible events sometimes have positive side effects. As an example, I'd like to share a story about an experience my husband and I had when we were not much older than you are now. During college, we went backpacking up in the mountains west of Lake Chelan. We had an old, ratty red pickup truck and not much money, so enough gas to get back to town, but not much more. And we also had a Xerox copy of a detailed contour map of the hiking area. So we drove about 20 miles up into the mountains on a logging road, had a great time hiking for about 3 days, and then headed for home. We didn't get far before we came across a huge tree that had fallen across this primitive dirt road while we were hiking. There was no way to drive around the tree because the terrain was so steep. So what to do? We could leave the truck and hike the 20 miles back down to the main road for help, or we could drive further into the wilderness on the logging road, going off of our map. We knew that the road ultimately ended in civilization, but had no confidence that we had enough gas to get there. Keep in mind that this area is very remote and there's no help around, and that this was in the ancient times before cell phones. Quite a dilemma. If I presented this scenario to my 6th period AP Physics 2 class, an immediate, passionate discussion would ensue. And this is how I picture it going. A student asks, "Janet, couldn't you minimize the path length for hiking back to the main road by following the gradient directly downhill and not following the road?" Another student responds, "No, that wouldn't work. You'd have to make your way through lots of brush and rocks. That would take way longer than following the road." And another student, wait. Because the truck is high on the mountain, it has a lot of gravitational potential energy. You could coast down the backside of the mountain, increasing the average fuel efficiency of the truck, and you'd need less gas. And finally, I know. How about making a ramp over the tree with branches? You could calculate the maximum slope of the ramp based on the friction coefficient. Some students enthusiastically participate in this on-the-fly problem-solving session. Others patiently listen, being flexible and allowing for their friends' unique learning style. You are such accepting people. With no intervention, this discussion would continue indefinitely. As you seniors well know, this is what you've experienced almost every day in school. By the way, having the passion and quest for knowledge that motivates these discussions is an amazing gift. Although it may annoy those around you, please never stop. So getting back to my hiking story, just so you're not left hanging, we obviously made it home just fine. We drove down the backside of the mountain with just enough gas, thanks to gravitational potential energy. This hiking misadventure was a bit horrifying at the time, but I learned from the experience, and here are a few highlights. First, be flexible. The original plan may need to change, and that's okay. Second, stay calm and think logically and assess alternatives. If you freak out, you can't think clearly. Third, be reasonably prepared for the unexpected. In this case, a larger map, maybe more gas would have been prudent. Fourth, difficult situations often show what a person is made of, an opportunity to show your grit. And finally, an adventure like this is much more memorable than if things went according to plan, and it makes a much better story, too. This time of COVID-19 is similar to our hiking disaster. We all had to change plans, be flexible, and support each other. Some experiences may have even been positive. Since my college-age sons have been home, we've been on more walks together and done more crazy concrete and welding projects together than we've ever had the opportunity to do before. In day-to-day life, it's easy to overlook opportunities to spend time with family and to help others. I'm hopeful that in time, you will look back on your senior year as an opportunity to practice flexibility, strength, persistence, compassion. It will certainly be more memorable than your typical senior year. You will tell stories about it when you're my age, hopefully sparking a spirited discussion along the way. Seniors, I miss you all, and I hope your futures are bright. Thank you. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Brandon Huan, who's our second student speaker. Thank you.
Hello, class of 2020. We made it. First and foremost, I want to thank all the teachers and staff who have supported us throughout our journey at International. We couldn't have done it without you. The endless amount of instruction, care, and guidance you've showed us throughout the years will never match the amount of gratitude we have for you. Adding on, I'd also like to thank all the wonderful parents who provided us with the love and support that have allowed us to prosper not only in our education, but in our personal lives as well. You have all shaped us into the young adults that we've become. From the moment I stepped into this school, my time here has been indescribable. It feels like just yesterday I was getting dropped off by my mom with hair down to my shoulders, walking through those front doors, anxious to find a sense of belonging. I remember that nervous first day, not knowing where I'd sit or if I'd make any friends during my time here. Thanks to all of you, you proved those doubts wrong. From that short, awkward kid to the young adult that stands here today, I've come to deeply enjoy the moments that we've created. Our time together and the experiences we've shared are ones that I'll carry with me forever. From the speedy lunch runs to Wajimaya, my first and last choir solo, the occasional in-class meal, and most importantly, the guys winning the senior dance are just a few of my favorite highlights. Looking back on these great memories, I'm deeply saddened that our time together was cut short. We lost out on the second half of our senior year where the home stretch was in sight. What was supposed to be the climax of our time together, we spent alone. However, I do believe that this is just the beginning of the great things that await each and every one of us. Instead of dwelling on the things that could have been, I hope we can relish in the past 7 years and how it's prepared us for our bright futures. Now that we're finally graduating and achieving this great milestone, we have a new chapter ahead of us. It is now our time to venture out into the adult world and face uncharted territory. We'll face challenges harder than we've ever seen before. Although certain uncertainty looms ahead, let us all remember the hard work we've achieved up until this moment, as it would be a shame to settle for anything less. The grueling tests we studied for, the late nights to finish projects, and our continual efforts to reach our goals will fuel us as we take this next step. Each and every one of us is ready to conquer our future. So to my fellow classmates, congrats. It's our time to celebrate. Thank you. And up next, it's my honor to introduce Sharice.
Congratulations, graduates. Every year, a staff scholarship is awarded to a well-rounded graduating senior who has consistently displayed exemplary skills and aptitudes in response to various challenges, both in and out of the classroom. Usually, the sentiment to follow that standard opening would be, and this year is no different. But of course, I don't need to tell you that this year is different. Beyond the uncertainty and at times chaos that seems to dominate our country at present lies another uncertainty awaiting us in the future. It's an annual tradition for people like me to stand in front of graduates like you and tell you that the future is yours to make. That's never been as true as it is right now, when so much about our future still hangs in the balance. What will our new, unformed future demand of its pioneers? A strong and robust education, to be sure, but much more than that. It will demand citizens who are critical thinkers and determined activists. It will demand individuals who are able and willing to identify ways in which they can contribute to the betterment of their communities and the world, and seize without hesitation the opportunities to do so when they present themselves. The future will need leaders who are able to innovate new responses to existing dilemmas and bring people together to solve complex problems. The future will challenge us all with daunting circumstances, which will need to be met with courage and determination and an unwillingness to give in to the feeling that the problem is too big, the effort is too great, the reward too unpredictable, to keep working towards a solution. The future will need individuals like this year's scholarship recipient who are inspired and inspiring in their activism, their community involvement, and their humanity. The future will need people like your classmate and my friend, Gargi Panatula. To be sure, the future will need each and every one of you, each and every one of us. And selecting one graduate to receive this scholarship was an intimidating prospect. So many of you were described in the characterization I just offered, and we celebrate you all. On behalf of the entire staff, I want you all to know how amazing you are, how loved you are, and how missed you will be at International School. Congratulations, Gargi, and congratulations, class of 2020. You are indeed titans in our school's history. And now a musical presentation from the International School Jazz Choir.
Tell me where is the road I can call my own, that I left, that I lost so long ago. All these years I have wandered, oh, when will I know? There's a way, there's a road that will lead me home. After wind, after rain, when the dark is done, as I wake from a dream in the gold of day, through the air there's a calling from far away.
Thank you, iJazz, Joanne, and Isaac Anderson for that lovely presentation. It's my pleasure to introduce our second staff speaker, Maureen Franich.
I'm honored to speak to you today at what is, I think, one of the most momentous graduation ceremonies of my lifetime. I'm guessing I'm not the only parent here who, upon welcoming a child in 2002 or thereabouts, did the math and thought, oh, they'll graduate in 2020. How cute. That will be fun. Talk about unprecedented times. I'm writing this speech on May 30th to be recorded on June 4th for presentation on June 15th. And since it feels like we're living through a lightning round cycle of news, who knows if the topics I choose to talk about will feel timely or relevant by the time you hear them 11 days later. I apologize in advance if this is all old news. Just in case, for the sake of posterity, on this evening of May 30th, cities across the country are on fire with protests. People are marching in the streets, some looting, in response to the death of George Floyd, a black man killed by a white police officer, which closely followed the news of the shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery, an unarmed black man chased down by a white father and son pair, the police killing of Breonna Taylor in her own home, and not to mention the reporting of Christian Cooper, a bird watcher, also black, who had the audacity to ask a white woman to abide by the leash rules in Central Park. And so, while I had hoped to talk to you today about the fun of cautiously reopening and reuniting with some friends in a favorably hygienic manner 6 feet apart, at the moment, that speech seems entirely tone deaf. I looked through a couple of speeches I have given in the past to see if there was any good material I could use to inspire myself. And what I discovered was that some of the advice I've given has withstood the test of time and some has not. So I'm going to share parts of 2 old speeches and you can see if you can figure out which is which. Example 1 from my speech to the class of 2018 with a little context so I don't have to read you the whole thing. Class of 2018 was legendary for their record-setting tardiness and absences. I've never seen anything like it, and though some members of your class tried to beat that record, you didn't even come close. That speech was the easiest I ever wrote. They needed a final word on the importance of showing up, and they needed roasting, so that's what I gave them. Here are some snippets from it. One challenge in thinking about showing up is that, thanks to technological advances and cultural shifts, it's never been easier, but it connects us to people in ways we never thought possible. Oh, I read the snippet wrong. Never mind. But there are times in our lives when physical presence cannot be substituted. So I'm going to talk to you tonight about 3 important areas in your life in which you must show up in person: your family, your friendships, and your education. So I advise them. First, your family. If your people Skyped in to see you graduate, it would feel like they were just not really interested in you if they couldn't bother to come in person, see you turn your tassel. And then on friendships, I told them, even though you'll stay connected with technology, there are some things you just can't do if you aren't together, like meet at a restaurant or go to prom. And with regard to their education, I told them you cannot duplicate the in-person classroom experience by going through the lecture slides in the privacy of your room. Or even if you see a recording of the lesson, it won't have the same authenticity. You really need to get out of bed and go to class. So much for that wit finger wagging. Apologies to the class of 2018. They didn't need my advice, they just needed Zoom. Here's the other speech. The context for this one is that sometimes the class I'm talking to doesn't have an obvious deficit like the class of 2018, who earned their roasting fair and share. The problem with you, class of 2020, is that roasting seems a little unfair right now, but also the worst thing I could get any teacher to say about you was, well, they get a little too excited about the topics we're covering in class. So if I can't use my speech to scold, I use it to make a plug for literature and to teach a final lesson. So for this one, I introduced the class of 2017 to a little-known Polish poet, Czesław Miłosz. In 1980, Miłosz had been lecturing for years at Berkeley, widely respected as an expert on Dostoevsky. Everyone knew about his background as a Polish defector after World War II, but everyone was completely unprepared for it when in 1980, he was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature, his own literature. With the exception of a few people, no one in Berkeley was aware of his own literary endeavors, as all of his work was in his native Polish and from 3 decades earlier. But when he returned to Poland in 1981, he was moved to find that despite the banning of his poetry under communism and the passing of 30 years since his defection, many people knew his poems by heart as they had been kept alive underground, and basically he'd shaped an entire generation of Polish youth. On the one hand, students and colleagues for decades, learning from him, respecting him, but no one knowing there was a whole body of creative work that he had made, Nobel Prize-worthy creative work. On the other hand, Poles at home devouring his work, hoarding it, treasuring it, but unable to let him know how much hope it gave them. He didn't realize until decades later how he'd influenced a whole generation. In a way, the whole thing very much resembled a theatrical farce. So some very clear lessons, first of all, from his life. First, don't underestimate the greatness of anyone you meet. And second, don't underestimate your own greatness. You might operate for many years on what you think is a valid reading of yourself or others, only to find out otherwise. So be ready. And now for a lesson that we can take from his poetry. Critic Terence Dupre said that Miłosz poetry deals with the impact of history upon moral being, the search for ways to survive spiritual ruin in a ruined world. An example of that can be found in his poem Dedication, which I'm not reciting in its entirety today. It's too long and too bleak. But his opening line, "You whom I could not save, listen to me. Try to understand this simple speech as I would be ashamed of another. I swear there is in me no wizardry of words. I speak to you with silence like a cloud or a tree." So just for those of you that aren't into poetry, he reassures his audience that he's not going to do what a former student accused all poets of doing, trying to mess with us. No, there's no wizardry of words in his work. He's going to tell it straight. But here are the lines that strike me as the heart of his comment. What is poetry which does not save nations or people? That I wanted good poetry without knowing it, that I discovered late its salutary aim. In this and only this I find salvation. If I were teaching this lesson to the class, I would make them look up the meaning of the word salutary, but I'm just going to tell you that it means beneficial or helpful. What is poetry which does not save nations or people? Miłosz was writing about his own craft and discipline, but you could substitute any profession or discipline for poetry in that line. What is engineering, which does not save nations or people? What is computer science, which does not save nations or people? What is epidemiology, which does not save nations or people? What is journalism, which does not save nations or people? What is law, which does not save nations or people? What is art, which does not save nations or people? This is the question I want to leave you with, the pith of the previous speech, which I implore you even more urgently than I did the graduates of 3 years ago. As you move on to the next part of your life, what, insert your discipline here, what is that which does not save nations or people? I know this is burdening you with the weight of the world, and perhaps it's unfair to leave you with such an urgent and serious call to action. But when I looked into my heart and thought about what I wanted to give you before you launch, it's this: a sense of importance of what you're undertaking, and my complete and utter confidence that you can do it. Of course, I want you to have fun, to enjoy your youth, to explore your world. Heaven knows you deserve it given what you've lost this year. But something you've gained this year, more than any other class in recent history, is the certainty that you can do hard things. It may be very hard, nearly impossible to figure out how your education will prepare you to do this, to save nations and people. But you know I wouldn't assign you something if I didn't think you were capable of it. I know you are. So in honor of the memory of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and all the others, take the lessons of Miłosz and never underestimate the greatness of others. Never underestimate the greatness of yourself. Find your salutary aim. Go out and save nations. Save people. Congratulations, class of 2020.
Thank you, Maureen. Today it is my responsibility to certify to the Bellevue School Board and to Carolyn Watson, member of the board, that the class of 2020 at International has met all of the requirements for the graduation as set forth by Washington State law and the Bellevue School District policy. At this time, I would like to introduce Carolyn Watson.
Thank you. It is my pleasure as a school board director to recognize the students of the International School Class of 2020. I regret that we could not be together on this important day and am further saddened that many of the other important events of senior year could not take place in person this year. Every year, I express my hope to the graduating seniors that the 7 years of 7 subjects at International School will be with you in a positive way for the rest of your lives. This year, you have added resiliency to your skill set. You were able to adapt to this global pandemic, accept disappointments, and still fulfill the state and district requirements and graduate on time. You have demonstrated a capacity to adapt, and you have firsthand experience of the possibilities and constraints of technology in learning situations and social interactions. It is my hope that this resiliency, adaptability, knowledge of the appropriate use of technology, and the International School global perspective will help you thrive in the world of our future. Now that some of you are 18 and the rest of you will be turning 18 soon, I am also reminding you all to use the critical thinking skills you have developed over these last 7 years and to register and vote to help determine your future world. I wish you a great and safe summer, and most of all, a bright future. And with the breadth of preparation that has occurred here at the International School, I know you are prepared. And now, on behalf of the Bellevue School District and the Bellevue School District Board of Directors, and with the authority granted by the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction, I declare that these students have fulfilled the requirements for high school graduation in the state of Washington, and I hereby officially accept the International School graduating class of 2020. Congratulations.
It is my honor to introduce our counselor, Corinne Bowen, to read the names of our graduating seniors.
Isaac Anderson, Lise Arui, Chloe Arts, Tyler O, Samantha Barron, Nicholas Barus Barreto, Youssef Bashrar Riyad, Elsie Y. Chung, Roxana Dadvar, Janet De La Vega, Abhay Deshpande, Sarah Dolan, Jackie Dowd, Katie England, Spencer Forbes Irvin, Yasmin Fatuhi, Casey Franich, Kanichiro Furukawa. McKenna Leslie Gwynn. Caitlin Greenlaw. Vivian Guo. Derek Hardy. Keiki Olafina. Erin Esther Hong. Felicity Wong. Brandon Nguyen. Trisha Jahi. Michelle Elisa Poe. Auden Wagner. Anthony Lee. Terrence K. Liu. Parthiv Mathur. Paul McKnight. Olivia McQuain. Anastasia E. Monuk. Maya Nathani Sim. Catherine O'Hara. Jamie Peck. Garji Punathula. Allison Ryder. Sid Siskamar. Sean Sent. Kishin Shigemitsu. Morgan Sedoyne. Nicole Alexa Stojanovic. Hans Stone. Manaswi S. Sukakantar. Claire Serbeck. Camille Taylor. Alexis Kurtavov. Natalie Kurtavov. Sydney Thompson. Troy Thornton. Nathan Shelley. Aiden Troutman. Caleb Zay. Annie 2. Bonnie 2. Parthakea Vamori. Anna Wang. Cindy Wang. Yiyang Wang. Ellen Wu. Emily Zhu. Tim Zhang.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Jacqueline Dow to you for the reading of the call to the class.
Hello, class of 2020. Jugez votre succès par la façon dont vous appréciez la paix, la santé et la mort. Apprenez à être à l'écoute. Les opportunités se font parfois très discrètes. Battez-vous vraiment contre les préjugés et les discriminations chaque fois que vous les rencontrez. Soyez confiant et courageux. Quand vous repensez à votre vie, vous regrettez les choses que vous n'avez pas accomplies plus que celles que vous avez faites. Que votre corps jamais ne s'endurcit, votre caractère jamais ne faiblit et que votre main jamais ne blesse. Nous vous souhaitons sérénité d'esprit afin que vos actions soient porteuses de paix. Puissiez-vous posséder à la fois le pouvoir et la sagesse d'en faire bon usage. Puissiez-vous toujours savoir rire de vous-même et pleurer pour les autres, ayant tant le sens de l'humeur que celui de la justice. Mais plus que tout, nous vous souhaitons l'amour. Pas un amour convenu que l'on se souhaite en passant, mais un amour puissant, de ceux capables d'exiger le changement et de construire un monde meilleur. And for the benefit of those not speaking French, it is my pleasure to translate the class call for you. Judge your success by the degree that you're enjoying peace, health, and love. Learn to listen. Opportunity sometimes knocks very softly. Do battle against prejudice and discrimination wherever you find it. Be bold and courageous. When you look back on your life, you'll regret the things that you didn't do much more than the things that you did. Have a heart that never hardens, a temper that never tries, and a touch that never hurts. We wish you peace, at heart and in action. We wish you power and the faith to use it well. We wish you a capacity for laughter at the self and tears for the other, both a sense of humor and a sense of justice. But most of all, we wish you love. Not the greeting card type, but a powerful love, capable of demanding the change and transforming our world into the world that we want for our futures. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Parents, staff, and guests, your support has built a solid foundation for our graduates to successfully embark on the next stage of their life's journey. With grace, determination, integrity, and love, please join me now in congratulating the class of 2020. At this time, it is my honor to reintroduce Senior Class Vice President Brandon Nguyen to transfer the tassel.
Will the senior class please stand? Audience, please stand as well. Seniors, please transfer your tassels from the right side to the left side. Congratulations, class of 2020. Seniors, you're now dismissed.
Your job's a joke, you broke, your love life's the away. It's like you're always stuck in second gear, when it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your year. But I'll be there for you when the rain starts to fall. I'll be there for you like I've been there before. I'll be there for you, 'cause you're there for me too. You're still in bed at 10 and work again at 8. You burned your breakfast so far, things are going great. Your mother warned you there'd be days like these, but she didn't tell you when the world was brought you down to your knees. And I'll be there for you when the rain starts to fall. I'll be there for you like I've been there before. I'll be there for you, 'cause you're there for me too. No one could ever know me, no one could ever see me. Seems you're the only one who knows what it's like to be me. Someone to face the day with, make it through all the rest with. Someone I always laugh with, even at my worst, my best with you. Yeah. It's like you're always stuck in second gear, when it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your year. I'll be there for you when the rain starts to fall. I'll be there for you like I've been there before. I'll be there for you, 'cause you're there for me too. I'll be there for you. I'll be there for you. I'll be there for you, 'cause you're there for me too. No one told you life was gonna be this way. Your job's a joke,